Raiders. My mom grew up in Oakland and my grandpa pastored in Oakland. And so maybe that's why I've always had a lean toward the East Bay teams. I have a license plate that says it's a Raiders thing you wouldn't understand. And so what an honor it is to have with us today someone who is known as Mr. Raider. He won the Heisman Trophy in college, played for the team for 16 years. He's now a member of the Hall of Fame. Most importantly, he's a fully devoted follower of Jesus, one of the nicest guys that I have ever met. Joining us is Tim Brown. Tim, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure, Pastor.
Now, Tim, first of all, what was it like watching the very first draft for the Las Vegas Raiders?
Yeah, that was certainly a little interesting, no doubt about it. You know, I kept hearing people say Las Vegas, and I couldn't figure out who they was talking about, you know, but it's a little strange right now, but I'm sure in time it'll roll off of our tongues, but it's going to take a minute, especially for us old heads who go back to the LA days, you know, so it's going to be really tough.
What did you think about their first pick?
You know, I wasn't surprised. You know, I've been talking to Gruden a lot during the offseason, and I know he was looking for somebody who could take the top off the defense, as we say, and that had to be a speed guy. And I think he got the fastest guy who can catch a ball in the draft. So this guy, Henry, is going to be a great addition. He's going to put a lot of pressure on defenses, and I think he's going to make a lot of incredible plays. As wide open as offenses are these days, a guy like that with that kind of a speed, if he can catch a pass in the middle of the field, there's nobody who's going to be able to touch him. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this happens.
But Tim, you've always had a great relationship with your mom. What's one of the big life lessons she taught you?
Yeah, my mom is an incredible lady. You know, she's doing with the family now. She's doing drive-by visits to our house. So she doesn't get out the car or anything, but she comes by and we get a chance to go out and say hi to her. But, you know, back in the day, you know, she was the one we spent a lot of time with. Dad was busy working and playing. You know, he's working hard during the day and playing hard during the night. So Mom was the one we spent a lot of time with. Wednesday night, Friday night, Sundays, we were at church with her. So, you know, we certainly spent a lot of time, you know, pulling on her coattails, on her dress tails, I should say. But, you know, my senior year after I won the Heisman and my rookie year in the league, I made the Pro Bowl in the NFL. And, you know, if you're going to play this game, that's 2 pretty good years to have. And so when I came home after my rookie season, before I went to the Pro Bowl, they had a sign outside the house that said, "Welcome home, Heisman Trophy winner, NFL Pro Bowler Tim Brown." And, you know, so I get out the car and fix my jacket a little bit, you know, feeling proud about myself. And so I get up to the porch and my mom is there outside and she greets me and she said, "Oh, we're so proud of you. And, you know, you've done so well," all this kind of stuff. And I'm saying to myself under my breath, "Well, I know you are proud of me, you know." And so she said, "Well, hey, did you see the sign?" And I said, "Well, yeah, of course I saw the sign." And she said, "Well, you know why it's outside my house?" I said, "No," because she said, "All of this is going to stay outside of my house. And you're not going to be this person when you come in my house." So I went from with my chest up to my head down, you know, going this way. And, you know, I think I've sort of been that guy all along, you know, and I think that message was about being humble, about being, you know, being Timmy, not being Tim Brown, this big football star. You know, you're going to be Timmy. And I think from that standpoint, it really taught me a lesson that I carry with me till today.
Oh, what a great lesson, Tim. How about, Tim, there's always mountains and valleys in life. Can you tell us about a mountaintop experience you've had?
Well, you know, I think for me, you know, getting married, having kids, you know, all those kind of things are certainly mountaintop moments. But I think for me, after growing up the way I grew up in church, you know, I sort of got away from what I had learned, you know, my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, even to mid 20s. And I think it was important for me to to get back right and to be, my church, we believe, yeah, and backsliding and all that kind of stuff. So I want to make sure I was right, Pastor. I couldn't be in and out. I couldn't be in and out.
Right.
So I had to get right. And June 26, 1996, at about 3:30 in the morning, I rolled out of bed and got on my knees and asked God to save me, and save me real good. That was about a month before I was turning 30 years old. And, it was just time for me to make a change. And even though I was having this great career, I didn't feel as if I was a great man, because I knew that I wasn't being the man of God that I was supposed to be. But it's like after that night, I went into that season, just knowing that this was going to be an incredible season for me. And even though it may not have been my best season in the league, I felt freer. I felt better, because I knew that I was now trying to be at least the man that God wanted me to be.
Oh, that's awesome, Tim. That's awesome. Tim, how about the valleys? What's a valley you've been through, and how did God help you through that valley?
Well, interesting enough, my mom and dad was married for 52 years, so I always had a ever-present dad in the house. But there was a period there for about 12 years where me and my dad really didn't have the kind of relationship that I wish we would have had. He came home a little intoxicated one night, and I was up too late, and that combination was not good. I was feigning like I was asleep, because I didn't want him to think that I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning watching TV on the school night. But he turned the TV off, and I sort of, hey, I'm watching that. And it scared him to the point that he thought I was coming after him. And, with that, he said, well, I'm gonna kill you, and he went to his car, and I knew he kept guns in his car, and it just freaked me out, and it was a very low moment, but the amazing thing about that moment, God has shown me how that moment, changed my life for the better, and how at that particular time, what I was thinking was me and my dad would never have a conversation again, or never be close again. And, I think that certainly wasn't the case. But it was because of that night that I decided I would never have a drink. I remember hiding from my dad, thinking he was going to come in and shoot me. And what was dropped in my spirit was, if alcohol would make you want to kill your son, don't ever touch alcohol. And it's because of that night, I've never had a drink of alcohol in my life. And but there was just certain things, I think because of that night, I wanted so much to please him that I kept trying to do all these incredible things, not only in sports, but, I was, vice president of my senior class. I was sports editor of my newspaper. I was doing all these things, trying to bring them back to him in a way to say, hey, I'm your son, let's have a relationship, but they weren't happening. And so, some years later, I just had the opportunity to confront him, just me and him, and ask him for forgiveness, because that's what got dropped in my spirit, that I should ask my dad for forgiveness, because if I wouldn't have moved that night, all this would have happened. But it was because I moved and I said something that this reaction happened. So I asked him for forgiveness. I told him I forgive him. And thankfully, for the next 20 years of his life, we had an incredible relationship. But that night turned out to be probably the best night I ever had, but it was a very low moment for a 13-year-old who loved his dad, and all of a sudden felt that relationship flipping away.
Well, the healing power of God. God can take the worst things in our lives and somehow work them together for our good and for his glory, Tim. That's awesome, man. Tim, Psalm 23 says, goodness and mercy will follow us all the days of our life. How have you seen the goodness of God chase you down? Well,
I tell you, man, it's a beautiful thing, when you realize that, all these things that you think have been happening in your life that you're doing, that you realize it has been God orchestrating your life all this time, from the time that I was 14, a freshman in high school, and having my English teacher to take me out of her class and say, you don't belong in my class. You need to be in the AP honors class, English class. As a matter of fact, told my counselor, put him in all AP honor classes. Well, if not for that, 4 years later, I wouldn't have been eligible for a scholarship for the University of Notre Dame, because at that time, Notre Dame athletes, football players, everybody had to have 4 years of AP classes, and I think about, my parents, and my big brother telling me that Notre Dame is the place for me to go. And where I didn't want to go to Notre Dame. It was too far away. It was too cold. Because I did, look at what happened, look decisions. And years later, when I look back on that, I realized that God had just been chasing me the whole time and really setting me up for what he really wanted me to do. And so, putting me on a team that won 4 games in 3 years, 425-1 was I worked really hard for that one, Pastor. So I like to talk about that one a little bit. Literally by the Spirit, I felt, when I was in my mid-20s, and I got accosted by the Spirit, is what I like to tell people, because I'm in my bathroom and all of a sudden it's like something just dropped in me that said, Tim Brown, when are you gonna do my will? When are you gonna do what I want you to do? And I got the naming off all these incredible things that I had done, and it was the Spirit said to me, don't you know that was me all along, chasing you, trying to set you up, trying to put you in the best position, And so, I realize, and I try to tell people now, when you look back on your life, you're going to look at things and go, man, I cannot believe God put me in that position, took me through that, and brought me out of it.
Oh, that's awesome, Tim. What, to trace the hand of God in your life, it's an amazing thing.
It really is.
On social media, Tim, you've been encouraging people to rediscover the Bible. Why do you think that's so important?
Oh, I'll tell you, I had the opportunity, the incredible opportunity, when I went into the NFL Hall of Fame in 2015. The NFL Hall of Fame took a trip over to Jerusalem, and had a chance to get baptized in the Jordan River, to visit the tomb, to do all these miraculous things. My wife had the opportunity to actually recite the Sermon on the Mount, in that very spot. They believe Jesus did that, and all these incredible experiences that I was having. When on the plane ride back, I just kept saying to myself, I've got to make something of this. I mean, I've got to do something. And what was dropped in my spirit was to put a scripture out every day, and to remind people to read the Bible. I tell people all the time, when your pastor is up speaking, you shouldn't be going, oh, I didn't know that was in the Bible. It should be a confirmation of what you read already. Yeah. When you hear your pastor speak. And so I think for me, it was just really important for me to do something, Pastor. And that was a little thing that I felt like I could continue to do. I may not do it every day now, but certainly, multiple times a week, I'm putting scriptures out and reminding people to read the Bible.
That's great, Tim. One other question. Are there any other words of encouragement you'd have for those in the Bay Area at this time?
Well, look, let me talk from the Raider point of view first, because I know we have some hurt Raider Nation folks there, and believe me, being that I had so many incredible years in Oakland, it was tough to see this happen for me also. But please understand that if the organization had any other opportunity, any other chance, they would have made that decision to stay in Oakland. I remember being with the president of the Raiders in 2017 before a game up in the box, and he was literally crying because of the decision that they were going to have to make. But just felt as if the organization was going to move forward, they had to do something of this nature to make that happen. So I know a lot of Raider Nation folks are hurt, but I hope you will continue to support the Raiders, even though they're the Las Vegas Raiders now, because the silver and black definitely needs your support, no doubt about that. So, and I know, everybody's going through a lot right now. This Corona COVID-19 situation is very tough. My daughter still has the virus some 8 weeks later. We're praying that the last test she got is going to be negative. But so I know it's an ever-present thing that we're thinking about. But just understand that through it all, God is with us, and He has the ability to take us through.
Thank you, Tim. Stay safe, stay strong, and go Raiders.